Hello and welcome at 6 p.m. here in Korea. Time to start our Sunday evening newscast. I'm Daniel Choy. Korea is trying to absorb the shock posed by the uncertainties looming over the eurozone as Greece moves to resist austerity measures needed to prevent a debt default. Despite the rising concerns, a local economic research institute contends the impact will not be as detrimental as once believed, as the country has been preparing for the worst for years. Our Ji-yeon starts us off.
As Greece steps closer to defaulting on its $1.8 billion debt, its parliament approved a referendum on whether to accept its international creditors' terms for reforms. A yes vote would unlock billions in bailout loans, but it's also raised questions in other countries about Greece's future in the eurozone. Analysts have already raised the possibility of a Grexit or Greece exit, which could prompt other countries such as Britain and Portugal to follow suit. The uncertainty surrounding the future of the eurozone has been cited as one of the three main risk factors for the Korean economy, along with the MERS outbreak and the possibility of a U.S. interest rate hike. The Hyundai Research Institute has already slashed its projections for Korea's exports to the European Union by nearly 1.5 percentage points from the previous year. It says the rate of increase could drop even further with a Grexit to more than 7 percentage points. But the institute also says the local economy has been preparing for the worst-case scenario, so the impact will likely be smaller than it might have been 4 years ago when fears of a Grexit were raised for the first time. Major European banks' exposure to Korea during the last quarter was slashed to $17.4 billion from $167.5 billion in 2011. Meanwhile, the net purchase by foreign investors increased to $2.3 billion during the January to March period this year. Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Korea's job market seems to be improving with more companies filling open positions. According to the Labor Ministry, local companies hired 726,000 people for 800,000 posts in the first quarter of the year. That's a hiring rate of 91%, up more than 2 percentage points from last year. More than 80% of the new hires came from smaller companies with 300 employees or less. The survey was conducted on over 30,000 local companies with 5 or more full-time workers. TV sets by Samsung Electronics have been selected by consumers in the U.S. as the best in the high-definition category for the second straight year. That's according to a survey done in May by U.S.-based market tracker J.D. Power on 3,750 U.S. consumers that have bought a TV set during the past year. Among other products, Samsung TVs measuring more than 50 inches diagonally received the highest marks for quality of color expression and brightness. May was a great month for discount outlet chains and department stores in Korea. Both saw an increase in sales from the same month last year for a second straight month of positive growth. According to a report by the Trade Ministry, the combined sales of three major department store chains, Hyundai, Lotte, and Shinsegae, grew 3.1% from the same month last year, following a 1.3% on-year gain in April. The combined sales of the country's three major discount outlets, E-Mart, Home Plus, and Lotte Mart inched up 0.5% on-year, also marking an improvement from the previous month. The report attributes the rise to an increase in the number of operating days for department stores in May after 4 extra workdays were added. And we have the latest on the MERS situation here in Korea. 1 death was reported today, raising the death toll to 32. But there were no reports of new infections overnight, keeping the number of people diagnosed with the disease at 182. According to the Health Ministry, the deceased was a 55-year-old man, and his death was one of the rare cases where the person had no pre-existing health conditions. Over 90% of MERS deaths, or 29 of 32 cases, have involved people of old age or those with pre-existing conditions that were apparently worsened by the virus. The fatality rate of the disease in Korea is at 17.6%, which is still lower than the over 40% tallied globally before the outbreak here. 59 people with MERS remain hospitalized, with 15 of them currently in unstable condition. 2,562 people are still in isolation for possible infection, and 91 people diagnosed with the virus have completely recovered. Ruling party lawmakers are still debating whether to keep Yoo Seung-min, their floor leader, or let him go after President Park Geun-hye vetoed a bill that grants lawmakers the rights to request changes to government ordinances. Yoo led the negotiations on the bill, and the party may decide his fate this week. Our Song Ji-sun reports.
It may seem like a quiet weekend, but politicians are busy deciding whether to support embattled ruling party floor leader Yoo Seung-min or turn against him. Yoo has been striving to repair relations between the ruling party and the presidential office, following a series of controversial revisions to the National Assembly law that have disrupted parliamentary business. But the president reportedly thinks he no longer has the political power to do the job. Officials at Cheongwade have been quoted as saying that the president is convinced that Yoo is only focused on politics that matter to him instead of backing the party and the president. Since taking the post in February, Yoo has often acted against President Park's policy directives. For example, when he said that their welfare plan could not be executed without raising taxes, contrary to what she had claimed. Although Yoo's supporters are trying to protect him from ruling party leaders who have been pressuring him to resign, his fate is likely to be decided at the party's Supreme Council meeting on Monday. Meanwhile, the main opposition party is seeking ways to put the vetoed bill up for a revote in the Assembly. Under the Constitution, a bill that has been vetoed by the president can be put up for a vote again if either of the main parties and the National Assembly Speaker agrees. If approved, the bill would give lawmakers the power to request changes to govern ordinances, which the president has characterized as a violation of separation of powers between the executive and legislative branches. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
The ghost of the past comes back to haunt Asiana Airlines. The airliner is being sued for its crash landing in San Francisco in 2013. A group of 53 passengers, including 26 foreigners, say they filed the suit with the Seoul Central District Court. They are demanding compensation of 34.2 billion won, or some $30.6 million US. In July 2013, a Boeing 777 jet operated by the country's number 2 carrier crashed and burst into flames at the San Francisco International Airport while landing, killing 3 passengers and injuring more than 180 people on board that flight. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board concluded the main cause of the accident was pilot error, who they said had relied too much on the cockpit's automated system. The group filing the lawsuit said some of the passengers suffered both physical and mental agony as a result of that accident. And outside of Korea, what was supposed to be a bright and colorful festival turned into the worst incident of mass injury in Taipei's history when a massive fire broke out at a party at an amusement park outside the capital. Around 1,000 spectators were taking part in the Color Play Asia event when a massive amount of colored powder sprayed in line with the festival's theme caught fire. A massive fireball engulfed the stage as the flammable powder exploded, injuring more than 516 people. Terrified partygoers were seen screaming and running for their lives, overtaken by flames, as bystanders used bottles of water to help the burn victims, while inflatable floats were used to carry them out to safety. Police and fire officials believe the lights on stage may have started the fire. The water park has been shut down as a rigorous investigation gets underway. Reports of insects and other foreign objects found in food are a cause of concern for food manufacturers, retailers, and consumers alike. According to our Park Se-young, a new inspection system developed by a group of local scientists could help cut the number of such cases. Take a look.
Unwrapping a chocolate bar might reveal an unpleasant surprise like insects and pieces of metal or glass. In fact, 6,400 cases of foreign bodies in food were reported in Korea last year. To reduce this number, a group of local scientists developed a new imaging system that uses terahertz waves to detect foreign bodies down to a millimeter. Low-density objects, which account for over 80% of related defects, are difficult to detect for the existing X-ray systems. The new system can identify organic materials like insects and hair in chocolate and powdered foods.
The difference in absorption spectra and refractive indices of food products are easy to identify in the terahertz region. This makes for easier detection of foreign substances compared to X-ray systems.
Equipped with a conveyor belt traveling at 50 centimeters per second, the device yields quick results around the clock. It also utilizes a polygonal mirror scanner, the first of its kind, to inspect products for broken or melted surfaces. The researchers sold a bulk of the technology to a local manufacturer for 500 million Korean won, or roughly $455,000. When the new system is commercialized, researchers expect food manufacturers to see a sharp drop in the number of defects. The technology can also be applied to postal inspection for drugs and explosives and to detect fuselage cracks in cars or airplanes. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
And now for a quick look at the weather before we go. The scorching hot temperatures will be with us throughout the week here in Korea, with one notable exception: heavy rain expected nationwide on Tuesday. Before that, the high in Seoul on Monday will get up to 30 degrees Celsius, and similar conditions will prevail in Gwangju and Daegu, with highs reaching 29 in those areas. And now let's check out the weather conditions outside of Korea, in your neck of the woods and around the world. And these are the stories we could squeeze into this newscast, but we do have more coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time, so do join us then. For now, thank you so much for watching.